Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this webinar on Be Internet Awesome in Indiana. And we will get to that topic and more about that in just a few minutes, but I want to first do some introductions and housekeeping. So my name is Mary Carnahan, and I am the eLearning Resource Specialist with the Indiana Department of Education, Office of eLearning, and I get to produce and kind of host these webinars, so I get to hear lots of awesome topics and lots of awesome people sharing from all over the state. So today is no exception to that history of great topics. I have muted everybody as you have entered the meeting today, so please keep your line muted. That will reduce the background noise as we go through our call. Hopefully you all see the chat box on the right side of your screen. Please use that to ask questions and make comments as we go through the webinar. Again, we're all muted, but we still want this to be a nice forum and an open space for sharing and questioning. So please use that. Our presenters will be watching that chat box throughout the call and will answer questions as they come in. I'll also be following along just to make sure that nothing gets missed. We want to make sure that everybody's questions get answered. But like I said, also use it to share ideas. And if you want to try to connect with people outside of this call, feel free to share your Twitter handle if that is something that you do, that you use to stay connected. Okay, so stay muted. I am recording today's webinar, so I will have it shared on our YouTube channel, hopefully sometime next week. It all depends on when I get that file and when I'm able to get that edited and online. So if you do happen to have distractions today or have to leave early or something, or just want to go back and review, we will be sharing the recorded webinar. So the eLearning Lab webinars are part of the professional development opportunities that we have in the Office of eLearning, and we do have another one scheduled this month, getting started with open resources. Our digital resource specialist, Molly Yoel, is going to be hosting that with some other educators. So if that's something that you're interested in, please register for that and join us on October 23rd, same time, 4 o'clock Eastern. And then we'll be scheduling more webinars as time goes. We typically do at least one a month, sometimes two, depending on what we have going on. Another way to get some professional development is to use Twitter. That's a great way to stay connected with other educators around the state and the country and sometimes even the world. So use the Twitter handle or the hashtag #INELearn to connect to other educators, and consider joining in our Twitter chats. Those are every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, and this week we are talking about getting administrators and teachers on the same page, and Diana Gill, who is one of our presenters on the webinar today, is actually going to be co-moderating that chat along with Jana Kearney-Moran. So join them this coming week for that Twitter chat. And yet another way, another opportunity for professional development are our book clubs. And right now we are in week 3 of our fall book club. It's not too late to join in, though. If that's something that you're interested in and you want to participate in that professional development, in that conversation, you are welcome to. The URL for the blog is on the screen right now, and I can share that in the chat in just a little bit. That is worth up to 14 PGPs for participating in all 7 weeks of the discussion. Again, we're in week 3, but you can always go back and catch up on conversations. And speaking of PGPs, I neglected to mention that we do award PGPs for our webinars, so I will send out an email to everybody who signed in for the webinar today. I'll send those out probably tomorrow with PGP certificates, so you have that to look forward to, along with the great information that you'll learn today. And with that, I want to turn things over to our presenters today. We've got Tiffany Copple, Nadine Gilkison, and Diana Gill, and they are awesome educators from a variety of different locations around the state of Indiana, and they've also recently joined our team as innovation specialists. So you will be seeing things coming from them. They're still working in their schools, but they're going to be doing a little bit of partnering with the Office of eLearning on a variety of different projects. So you'll see them around working with us too. So I am going to turn the presentation over to Diana, and while I'm doing that, I do want to mention that in the chat box, you do need to select to send your comments to everyone from that Send To drop-down. You may have already changed it to everyone, but it may have changed now to Diana since I made her the presenter. So just make sure that says everyone so that everybody, not just her or not just me, sees your comments. So I will let you all, you three, take it away. Introduce yourselves, introduce the topic, and everybody just share comments and questions in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Mary. My name is Tiffany. Oh. Are we there?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Tiffany Copple, and in addition to the work that I do with the Department of Education, I'm a 6th grade science teacher in Scottsburg, Indiana, and the past 2 years I taught a course called Digital Literacy, and so a big part of that course was digital citizenship. So I feel like our topic is really important, and I'm excited to share with you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nadine Gilkison, and I, in addition to being an innovation specialist for the Office of eLearning, I'm also the District Technology Integration Specialist for Franklin Township Schools. This is going on my 5th year, and I work a lot with our teachers, media specialists, and students on rolling out digital citizenship.
And hi, everybody. My name is Diana Gill. I'm super excited to have recently joined the Office of eLearning team as an innovation specialist with Tiffany and Nadine. My day job is a technology coach. I'm the technology coach for East Porter County Schools in Northwest Indiana, and I'm very excited to talk a little bit about this initiative tonight. So first, to let you know a little bit about what our goals are with this presentation is to share with you an initiative and a collaboration between Google and Internet Keep Safe Coalition at ikeepsafe.org. So I'll give you some background on how Indiana really started to look towards supporting teachers in the use of these resources from Google. Last year, the Google Chicago campus hosted a workshop on Be Internet Awesome resources, and a ton of our IN eLearn folks were in attendance at that workshop. And so we had some opportunities to talk about how excited we were about all of the resources that Google were giving us. And we started to kind of think about how we could support this work specifically in Indiana. And I want to give a shout out before we get too far into this to tell you a little bit about who developed this program. So I'm talking about the work that Indiana educators are doing, not Google, obviously. But formerly of the Indiana Department of Education, Michelle Green started this, and she led a team of awesome educators. And I'm just going to quickly give them a shout out and say hi to Chantel Manahan, Brandy Hicks, Dr. Thomas Ho, Diana Knox, Maria Sellers, Kate Masterson, Kyle Klein, Melissa Wally, and Jennifer Cook. And so they were all part of kind of bringing this excitement to the Be Internet Awesome resources, specifically in Indiana. And so we kind of talked about how we could maybe bring awareness to these resources and kind of come up with our own Indiana package. And during the summer of eLearning this past summer, we took turns as a group going to almost all of the Summer of eLearning conferences and toured the state to talk about this, and again to talk about how specifically we wanted to help support teachers in their DigCit in Indiana. So these resources, the Be Internet Awesome team created these resources specifically with grades 3 through 5 in mind. And I want to be upfront in saying that, but I also want to share that a lot of educators, and myself included, have found success with using these materials, especially this cool interactive game component that we're going to show you later, up until 8th grade. And then later, Nadine's going to talk a lot about how you can kind of use these resources we're going to share from Google in combination with other resources to really create a dynamic K through 12 DigCit curriculum.
Okay, so I think that probably if you're on here, I think you already probably value the importance of talking about digital citizenship and really not just talking about it with students and not just covering standards, but really getting into it with them and allowing them to experience what that looks like in the real world. But just to go over a few of those things, we live in a very digital world. And as that happens, more and more of the responsibility in talking about these things falls on us as educators. A lot of times parents are maybe not as equipped, or maybe they don't quite understand the technology that their students or their children are using. And so it's falling more and more on our shoulders. And so what Be Internet Awesome does is it provides us with a lot of amazing resources to share, as oftentimes we're learning right alongside of our students. And, you know, we already have a lot on our plates. We have a huge set of standards that we're responsible for. We have other commitments in our jobs. And so we spend a lot of time planning already. And what's great about this is that all of these resources are already here for us. They are aligned with the CS standards in Indiana, which for the past 2 years, my core curriculum has come from Indiana CS standards, and a lot of those have to deal with digital citizenship, and not just you know, do they know what a digital footprint means, but to be able to look at all of the different areas and all of the different facets that students will encounter out in the digital world. Everything from, I think when we think digital citizenship, we automatically think safety, we think cyberbullying, but we forget and sometimes neglect things like copyright and, you know, sharing resources appropriately and protecting ourselves as creators. But the great thing about this, not only is it aligned with Indiana CS standards, it's also aligned with ISTE standards as well. And so these things are already there for us. We don't have to go and hunt and peck and search and splice things together. It's there. But you can see here on the screen, this is our why. These students, they don't remember a time like probably us growing up when everything was paper pencil. They are online. They're connecting with their world in ways that is very powerful, but also can be scary if we're not teaching them and molding them in the right ways. And so we want to give them the best leg up that we can. So again, I think on the next slide, I think it shows this. Yeah, there they are. And so you'll see that they have taken these strands, these fundamentals of the Be Internet Awesome, and they've placed those standards appropriately from K all the way up through 8. So it lists those out. Share with care, secure your secrets, don't fall for fake, which I think is a big one. I think adults, a lot of times, we could probably learn a little bit more about, well, all of these, but it seems like recently don't fall for fake would be high on my list. And it's cool to be kind. So the great thing is we don't have to be experts. We don't have to know everything. The resources that Be Internet Awesome provides support us in teaching these things to our students. There's no tracking, there's no logging in for students, so it really protects their privacy and all those things. We don't have to worry about that. we know it's Google, we can trust that, and so I think that's just another positive of this program. I think that's what we want to share about that. Oh, nope, 5 fundamentals. There we go. I knew there was something else. Okay, so it basically covers 5 fundamentals of digital citizenship. Share with care. And so you'll see that they tag these to the side. Be internet smart. Don't fall for fake. Be internet alert. So teaching students to understand what is quality out there and to be suspicious of things until they check and look for sources and they know keywords to look for. Secure your secrets. To be internet strong, we definitely want to have our students understand that sharing is not always caring in terms of sharing all of our secrets. So teaching them to do that, because students can become quite the open book when they're behind a screen, and teaching them to think more clearly about that. It's cool to be kind. I think that definitely, right now it's October, it's National Bullying Prevention Month, and definitely we want to make sure students know that how you talk and how you speak online should be a reflection of who you are as a person, and how sometimes we can come across ways online when maybe we didn't mean it that way. And then lastly, when in doubt, talk it out, and being internet brave. So these 5 strands allow your students to get a well-rounded look at digital citizenship, and it doesn't focus just on one topic.
All right, I'm going to come out of here for a sec and take you to the website where you can find all of these resources that we're talking about, and then we'll dig into the curriculum a little bit deeper. So if you head to beinternetawesome.withgoogle.com, this is where you are going to find everything, and the resources really are in 3 parts. The first is the actual curriculum, the aligned to the standards, aligned to the ISTE standards, all that. Then you have your interactive game piece, which we'll show in a little bit. And then you also have a bunch of extra resources to communicate with parents and to give kids incentives and things like that. So when you head over to, again, beinternetawesome.withgoogle.com and scroll down a little bit, you will find this Be Internet Awesome curriculum. And so you can download this as a PDF, and it has the entire curriculum here. Now, Tiffany mentioned that students don't need to log in, it's device agnostic, all of that, but you can also take these things and kind of package them in a way that makes sense. So putting them in whatever LMS your school uses, some of it even makes sense to print out. So you have the ability to kind of pull pieces in and make it work. You could tackle the curriculum by yourself in your classroom, or you could work among a number of different grades to kind of divide and conquer, whatever makes the most sense to you. So it's very flexible. And as we scroll through this PDF, everything's nice and color-coded. And here's our Share with Care section, and then it gives you all the materials and the lesson plan and everything you need. So go ahead and get in there, and I'm not going to go through all 69 pages here, but go download that. I've got it printed out, and I flip through it as I'm designing lessons for all ages. And let me head back to our presentation here, and I'll just go through a little bit deeper what each section is about. So in the Share with Care, Be Internet Smart, a couple of the vocab terms you are going to be using with students are privacy, oversharing, and reputation. And so one of the activities in there, it has students look at materials gathered from someone's online profile. So they get a bunch of stuff from a fake profile, and they look at pictures and posts and the name and all kinds of details, and then the students try to make guesses about who that person is. And then the teacher kind of reveals the truth about who that person is in real life and what they're about and what they do, and then the conversation about online identity and misconceptions can take place. And that's just one example of that section. So a lot of this is very much like discussion-based. The second part is secure your secrets, be internet strong. And some vocab terms you are going to get in this section are password, security, hackers, and encryption. And one of the activities in this section is a team competition. Students learn a bunch of ways to build and remember strong passwords. And then there's a team competition in there to see who can build the strongest password. Don't fall for fake. As Tiffany mentioned earlier, this one is something that I think all of us should go through and learn from. But some vocab terms that you'll hear during this section are phishing, scams, and firewalls. And I love this one activity in here. Students, they look at a number of emails. So they'll get an email, a website, a profile, a private message, all kinds of things. And they learn clues to determine if that source can be trusted or not. And then, so they'll evaluate and they'll look at things like misspellings or the email domain, stuff like that, and they'll decide, okay, this is trustworthy, or you know what, I better report this to somebody. It's cool to be kind, be internet kind. You'll hear words like bystander, upstander, block, mute, and exclusion. And this is really scenario-based. There's an activity in here where students look at a number of different scenarios and situations online. It talks about tone, and it gives students the tools to know what to do, what words to use to be an upstander, when it's appropriate to block and mute, and then what you can do to either report online or get an adult involved. And then finally, this is kind of overlapping a bit. When in doubt, talk it out. This is about being internet brave. And this is about student agency and trust. And again, this is really about how to make adults part of that conversation, who to go to, what words to use, what to say, how to know the difference between something that you can handle by yourself and something that you really do need to get an adult involved in.
Okay, so another great thing about Be Internet Awesome is that they provide you a great number of communication tools. And so on the resources page that you saw there, they have everything from a Be Internet Awesome pledge that you can print out, and students can take that pledge. And I don't know, Diana, do you have parents sign that with the student? How do you treat that document?
We've never had parents do it with us, but I kind of envision a parent night where parents come with the students and everyone kind of signs it together. I would really like to see that happen in the future here.
Yeah, I think that is kind of neat, and then that way parents know that we're all going to work on this together. Okay, and then another awesome communication tool they have is a family intro letter or an email template. You can just say, hey, these are the things that we're going to be doing as a class together or as a school together. And again, just trying to bridge that communication, because when our students go home, that's typically when they're entering into worlds that, we can kind of control here at school. And when they leave us, we don't have that control. And so that falls into the hands of the family, and to allow them to just come into this together. And so that intro letter is really nice, or email if that's something that your district likes to do. It also has the key vocabulary that you can print out and utilize in ways that you'd like in your classroom. And then certificates and badges. And, I haven't gone through this specific program with students, but I know that students enjoy receiving badges. I have a badge wall in my room, and they earn badges for some other things. So to allow students to see, hey, I've completed this, I was successful with this, and then the certificate allows them to have that, moment of completion, and really brings everything together. And then finally, it has the lesson posters that you can use as resources in your own classroom that just supplement everything that goes along with what you're doing in the classroom. So all of those resources are, again, there at the Be Internet Awesome with Google.com. I think it's /resources. It's over in the chat if you want to find those things. And they are just simple downloads that you can print or you can throw into your LMS and share with your students that way. Hello. Am I talking about this? Diana, did you need me to talk about this too?
Nadine, did you want to talk about this?
I thought it was Nadine, yeah. Do we have Nadine? Is she with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
There she is.
Sorry. Okay, so also part of the interactive piece that's really nice is that they have the Interland everybody's big on gamification, and so they've taken on that piece, and that is what has really engaged the students by taking those lessons and then also providing that online component. Diana, do you want to show them an example of it?
Sure. I don't know if I'm going to play. That's a lot of pressure. There are also these really cool little cutouts. So this little guy right here, he's an Internaut. One of the resources lets you print that out and create little 3D figurines. I love that.
The river that runs through Interland flows with fact and fiction. But things aren't always as they seem. Cross the rapids by using your best judgment. Watch out for fishers lurking in the water. They'll try to trick you.
So one of the things that's nice about this is that you have the capability of your
Okay, thank you. I think you got the idea there. I don't want to play a game on live streaming. It makes me nervous. All right.
All right, Diana, do you want to talk about the vocabulary, and then we can talk about some of the things that you can do with it?
Yeah, when you're looking through the curriculum, and as I kind of dove into what each section is really about, there were a number of vocab terms, and I didn't get close to listing them all, but this screen shows you all of the different words that students will become comfortable using as they have these conversations. And then Nadine's going to talk about the resources that Google has created to support learning this vocab, and then also some of the ones that our Indiana team created to help teachers out.
Yeah, so as Diana mentioned, this summer at ISTE, they had a big announcement releasing that Pear Deck has they've created interactive lessons that are aligned to the Be Internet Awesome curriculum. So I'm sure one of us will put the link in there, but afterwards, if this presentation is shared, then I have the links embedded on the presentation. Diana, if you want to tap on the image, I think it should take you out to the section. So when you click on that link, it's going to actually take you out to all of the lessons. So if you hit Get the Decks, then they actually have a Pear Deck that is aligned with every single lesson. So it just prompts you to go ahead and make a copy, and then you can have it in your own drive. And then, Diana, I'll let you actually talk about the piece for Indiana that you guys spent some time tying it into vocabulary.
Sure. In a little bit, we're going to show you a resource that is on the website. We created a Google site on this. And so on top of the Pear Decks, I can come down here and find that. So our Be Internet Awesome in Indiana website. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that. There's some vocabulary reinforcement, so a Quizlet, a Flippity, and then we made a Pear Deck, but now there are better ones from Google, so definitely grab both of those and feel free to use them and modify them and let those things make it easier for you in your classroom.
So if you choose to go through Be Internet Awesome with your students or as a school or as a district, one of the great things they provide are these customizable certificates that you can go in and you can edit those to reward those classes or individuals that have completed the strands. And so I know at our school, we post these types of posters like outside of teachers' classrooms, which kind of provides some incentive and some accountability just as teachers, like, oh my gosh, they've gotten theirs, like, I really need to get on this. And so, incentivization really does work. It works for students and adults. And so everybody likes to feel like I've done something and I've accomplished something, and so these badges and certificates really allow them to do that. But they are totally customizable to whatever situation that you are trying to make them for. And so what we would invite you to do is, if this sounds interesting to you, Indiana has worked on this collaboration, and so they've created an application and have built a network that you can join in. And so that application is at, I believe I already shared that link. It's at the Google site for Indiana Be Internet Awesome. And so on there, I think it's at the top, and it says application, I believe. Apply to the network. There you go. And so on here, it's basically a simple Google form that you would fill out, and you would submit that. And at the top, it tells you all of the qualifications that you need to have to be able to apply to the network of Be Internet Awesome. So basically, we would want you to develop your own pledge. I'm Internet Awesome plus a purpose. Your purpose would be how you and your students would like to connect to other classes. For example, maybe you would want to do book buddies or pen pals or blog buddies with another school. Maybe you'd want to participate in some mystery Skypes or basically do some other collaborative experiences. I know my students last year, we created some digital citizenship content that we actually shared with elementary students. So as sixth graders, we shared that with elementary kids on their level and had that kind of collaboration. Another requirement would be confirming that all students were certified. So you would want to make sure that all of your students have successfully completed the program and become certified. And then you would want to simply submit your classroom contact info through the form, and then you would need to share artifacts, whether it be on social media, on your blog, or another avenue that you would share those artifacts from your classroom with the world. And there's the link there again at the bottom, but it's already posted over in the chat. And there again.
All right, so I'm going to talk for a few moments about just an idea of how to incorporate all programs that are out there. And I'm just throwing this out there. This is a work in progress. This is kind of how we've decided in our district, where I work in Franklin Township, kind of how to handle, because there's a lot of resources that are coming out there. And Diana, if you tap on the image, it should take you out to the document. And I will actually also share the document in the chat for you guys. Okay. So inside of this document, I just started working on this with our media specialists and also in alignment with our counselors. But we all know that there's several programs out there. Be Internet Awesome with Google is great. There's also the whole Common Sense Media program. And it starts to get a little bit overwhelming when you're trying to decide, how are you going to use, or is it that you're going to use all programs, or are you going to use pieces of programs? So what we started doing with this document was, on one side you see the Common Sense Media, the next column you see Be Internet Awesome, and then another piece that we've started to align in here are interactive read-alouds with digital citizenship picture books, and then hyperdocs that can be sent out through Google Classroom or any LMS that can have the students piggyback on what they've learned. So you're going to notice in here, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, it's kind of grayed out for Be Internet Awesome. So if you slide on down on that one, Diana, then you'll start to see the alignment. So, and literally we just, probably about a week and a half ago, we started piecemealing all of this together. As an example, if you go back to the presentation for me, on the next slide, we tried to kind of break it down. So, like I said, it's not that we're not using the Be Internet Awesome, but I'm trying to give teachers kind of an alignment. So if you see it in Common Sense Media, where does that line up to Be Internet Awesome if they decide, hey, instead of this lesson, I'm going to choose to do this? So I just wanted them to see kind of like a correlation. So for the younger grades, and I'm also doing some interactive read-alouds along with our upper grades as well. You saw how they're integrating in their Pear Deck with Google Slides. So we have two things that are going on in our district currently. We're taking those digital citizenship picture books, and we're then kicking it up a notch, and we're turning those into interactive read-alouds with that Google Slides Pear Deck add-on. So we're scanning certain pages of the books, and then as we're doing the interactive read-aloud, then we're having questions that are popping in while the kids are doing that interactive read-aloud with the teacher. The hyperdocs then piggyback off of that, like I said earlier. And so in other words, if we read about Tech the Modern Cave Boy in the concept where we're wanting kids to think about how much are you online and are you kind of balancing that life, then we dive in deeper. And Diana, if you actually tap on the one that says unplug, it should open it up. And I will go ahead and I'll add these links onto the chat in a moment. I just wanted you guys to be able to see what it looks like. So after we read Tech the Modern Cave Boy, if you'll go to the second slide for me, Diana. So I kind of give them two options. They could do that interactive read aloud with their teacher if they need to listen to the book again. I've got a video link there. Go into slide 3 for me. We then ask the students, they get different options for what they can choose, but they have to watch 2 PSAs, public service announcements about the importance of being unplugged. So then they have to stop and jot, or have a turn and talk, or then I'm trying to integrate other skills in there with Flipgrid. Then when we go into the apply, which is on the next slide, there were some other scenarios that I wanted the kids to watch, and we actually have like a face-to-face discussion about it. So then going into the create portion on that next slide there, I then asked the kids, okay, I want them to persuade others to have that importance of unplugging, but I'm putting it on them. So now that they've seen some examples, they could create an infographic with Google Drawings using Adobe Spark. I've encouraged our upper grade kids, you could use Anchor and make a podcast. They could create their own Screencastify. At the next slide, I had some extend options, but Diana, if you'll go down to slide 7, I actually have a student sample. So this was actually from a 5th grade classroom of a poster that a student created. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help them. It's one thing to learn about digital citizenship, and these lessons are great conversation starters. But if you can go back to the actual presentation again, and then I'll have you tap on the other hyperdoc just to give you an idea. This one, if you haven't heard of this book, it's really good, Once Upon a Time Online. It's about the importance of asking permission to be online. In a nutshell, the fairy tale characters get a laptop. They start ordering things online, not thinking about the consequences. Again, I was trying to think of what's an activity that I could have students do. And so, Diana, if you go to slide 3 on that one, it's going to actually show you. I found actual news clips where these are real kids who are actually purchasing things online. One kid purchased a car, and there were some other examples. But rather than just going by and thinking about it, I'm going to have you skip to slide 5 on that hyperdoc. And I really want kids to start to really think about just beyond the discussion. So with this one, we started telling them, what if you could design ease of use for parental controls? If they had a media campaign, to have them really stop and think about what they could do. Go ahead to slide 6 for me. Then with the upper grade kids, we even talked about policy changes. What kind of policy changes need to be made in today's environment, in our digital world, and how could they really create an impact with that? And not just sharing within their own classroom, how could they then share that out? I was at ISTE last summer, and they made a big push about digital citizenship, and Tiffany kind of touched on it earlier about getting beyond just the basic lesson. And we all hear about the what not to do online, but how are you actually going to share your voice with that? So I'm really trying hard to develop lessons to help kids think beyond just the discussion. So as I said, this is a work in progress. These are just some ideas. Feel free if anybody wants to, chime in or help out with this. I'd love to hear it. But I just wanted to share kind of where our district is at with, you hear about a lot of programs and kind of where do you go once you hear about all these great things. So it's just kind of our idea.
We'll be sure to, sorry, I have an echo. We'll be sure to give you all of the resources, including the slide deck that you're looking at. We'll make sure that you have all of this stuff. And this last slide just includes links to I Keep Safe, Be Internet Awesome, a webinar from Google on their product, the CS Standards, the Indiana Network, and the Digital Citizenship Community of Practice on Google+, which is another great place to go and share ideas and ask for resources and all of that stuff. All right, I think that's it. Tiffany, Nadine, do you guys have any closing last-minute remarks you wanted to make before we say goodnight?
I just want to say Nadine is awesome at hyperdoc.
Thanks. But seriously, if there's any other, collaboration that's that I don't want everybody to think that this is just a webinar and then we're done. Reach out to Tiffany, reach out to Diana and I, and let us know, great things that are going on in your district and how we can help support you, along with that great website that was shared.
Yeah, that looks awesome, and it really kind of gives me hope that we can continue to use the resources and package them in a way that's going to make sense for our teachers and our students. You got me thinking. I couldn't even speak because I was like, oh man, what do I want to do now? Nadine looks awesome. And then I did see a comment come through about how people have been using the Be Internet Awesome hashtag and trying to connect with us. We did have some transition, and so the three of us will really be working to make sure that if you take the pledge and you apply to the network, we'll definitely be there to support you in that and celebrate your success with your students.
I think too, just watching all this, I do think it's always important as educators to keep our voice in there as well. And so I know I'm one of those teachers that when you hand me a program or a set curriculum, that I like to just kind of pick and choose from them. So you definitely have a lot of freedom with this. You can follow it step by step, or you can pick and choose. And I think that's what's really amazing about this, because there are other great resources out there for digital citizenship, and it's not an all or nothing. This is just another tool for your toolkit. And I think I accidentally cleared my chat out. Mary, are you there?
I am, yes.
I think we wrapped it up. Is it okay? Wrapped up 12 minutes early?
Yeah, I don't think anybody will complain about that. Yeah. Thank you guys. That was so much really cool information, and just like you said, it's such an important thing that schools are being tasked with now is, we say all the time, we think of our kids as being, the quote unquote the digital natives, but they don't necessarily know how to handle it. They may know how to do their personal stuff on it, but just, this digital citizenship piece is such an important part. So thank you to you three for sharing with us today. Thank you for all that you've done up until this point, and thank you in advance for all that you will continue to do on this project and on many other things through our office, and just what you're doing individually and independently at your school. So thank you to you three. Thank you for everybody who signed into the meeting today and who joined us. Can you please show the slides again? Actually, let me go back to that slide. Here's everybody's, I think, they might type them into the chat box, but here are all of their Twitter handles on the screen. Unfortunately, you can't click on them, but they're all pretty easy, so I'll leave those up for a second or two. But again, thank you to Tiffany and Nadine and Diana for doing this webinar today, and thank you to everybody who joined us, and everyone have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you soon in another webinar or in a Twitter chat or in a book club. Thank you all, and have a great night.